There's a fresh twist in the never-ending Epstein saga, and this time the spotlight is swinging straight toward Donald Trump. Just when you thought the story couldn't get any more explosive, a new development drops, sending shockwaves through the political world. At today's press briefing, the tension was impossible to ignore as Caroline Leavitt faced pointed questions about the latest revelations. The room buzzed with anticipation, reporters pressing for clarity, answers, anything that might confirm what this update really means. And just like that, another dramatic chapter unfolds in a scandal that refuses to fade quietly into the background.
According to newly released files, the president had a conversation with the Palm Beach police chief in the early 2000s, according to the police chief in 2019. The president has gone on record before, and he's told reporters that he said that that he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. During this conversation with the police chief, however, he did say, according to this recounting of it, that thank goodness you're stopping him. He also called Ghislaine Maxwell evil. So my two questions are, did that conversation with the Palm Beach police chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. And unlike many other people who are named in these files, President Trump cut off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was honest and transparent about that for years and years. And so I think what the president has said all along has always remained true. And the release of more than 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous, disgusting crimes just shows the level of transparency that this president and administration has committed to in bringing these files to light.
But did he call the chief in 2006? Caroline, did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years.
So let's spell it out plainly. This new paper trail suggests Trump may have known far more about Jeffrey Epstein than he's ever publicly admitted, and the timeline raises eyebrows. According to a 2019 FBI interview with former Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder, Trump allegedly called the department in 2006, right as the Epstein investigation became public, and said, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everybody has known he's been doing this. Everyone has known. Everyone has known." That's not vague suspicion. That's not, "I heard rumors." That's a statement dripping with certainty. Now here's where the plot thickens. For years, Trump has told a completely different story about why he and Epstein fell out. The official line? A simple business dispute. Epstein was allegedly poaching employees from Mar-a-Lago, even spa staff. Trump repeated that version as recently as last July, saying the issue was people being taken out of the spa and hired away. He even floated the idea that Virginia Giuffre may have been one of them. Clean, convenient, almost boring. But the FBI document paints a much darker backdrop. It says Trump told police that people in New York knew Epstein was disgusting, that Ghislaine Maxwell was his operative and evil, that he once got the hell out of there when Epstein was around teenagers. That is not a minor workplace squabble. That is someone describing predatory behavior. So which story are we supposed to believe? Was Epstein banished over a turf war about staff? Or was he cut off because Trump recognized something deeply disturbing? Because those are not small differences. Those are two entirely different narratives. One trivial, one explosive. And here's the uncomfortable part. If Trump truly kicked Epstein out because he saw red flags and wanted no part of it, that would actually bolster his image. I saw what was happening and I shut it down. That's a strong defense. Instead, he's leaned for years into the employee poaching story, a downgrade from moral outrage to petty business drama. Why downplay a heroic version unless the fuller context complicates things? Then comes the timing. If everybody knew, as Trump allegedly said in 2006, why wait until the investigation was already public to call police? Why not report concerns earlier? Why not be the whistleblower instead of the commentator? Calling after the story breaks doesn't look like leadership. It looks like someone making sure their name isn't next in the headlines. And consider the claim that he got the hell out when teenagers were present. That implies he witnessed something unsettling enough to leave. Yet there's no indication he alerted authorities at that moment. Only later, once law enforcement was already moving. That sequence doesn't scream bravery, it suggests damage control. Then there's Ghislaine Maxwell. If he truly described her as evil back in 2006, that's strong language. But when she was arrested in 2020, his public remarks were notably softer, wishing her well rather than condemning her outright. The contrast is jarring. Taken together, this isn't a neat story about a business rivalry. It's a tangled web of shifting explanations, evolving rhetoric, and a phone call that may reveal far more than intended. And as each document surfaces, the gap between the public narrative and the private conversations only seems to widen, leaving one central question hanging in the air. What did he know, and when did he really know it?
I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well.
And it didn't stop there. When reporters pressed him on it, he didn't walk it back. He didn't clarify. He doubled down.
President, the other day a reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is." Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
First of all, I don't know that, but I do know that
She has. She's been arrested for that. You know
her
that.
friend or boyfriend
Epstein.
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that
Oh,
she's
so you're
guilty?
saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
I mean,
they
she's
made
a
it
child
such
alleged child sex
a
trafficker.
big deal.
I just wish her well. That's what it came down to. From privately calling her evil and labeling her an operative, to publicly offering well wishes on camera, that's not a subtle shift. That's a complete reversal in tone. So what happened between 2006 and 2020? What changed? Simple. One version was delivered behind closed doors to law enforcement. The other was delivered under bright lights with microphones inches away and the entire country watching. And that contrast is everything. Because if he truly believed she was evil, if he truly knew Epstein was disgusting, if he really fled the room when teenagers appeared, if everybody knew, as he allegedly told police, then the question becomes unavoidable. Why didn't he act sooner? Why wait until law enforcement had already opened the case? Why not alert authorities before it exploded into public view? Why present it for years as a petty workplace dispute instead of what he now seems to have privately understood it to be? You don't downgrade a moral stand into a spa staffing disagreement unless there's a reason to minimize the story. And that's why this feels less like a misunderstanding and more like narrative management. It looks like someone who may have had awareness, stayed silent while it mattered most, and later reshaped the timeline to position himself safely on the right side of history. But now the paper trail is surfacing, the documented interviews, the direct quotes, the inconsistencies. And when receipts enter the conversation, carefully curated stories start to wobble, because this isn't just about association, it's about knowledge, it's about timing, it's about what was said privately versus what was said publicly, and those two versions, they don't line up. If you want more deep dives like this, the kind that connect dots and ask the uncomfortable questions, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what comes next. And one more thing, we're operating in a media landscape where platforms, algorithms, and powerful interests can decide which voices get amplified and which get buried. Independent coverage isn't guaranteed space. So if you want to stay directly connected no matter what shifts in the digital winds, sign up for the newsletter. It's free, and there's an option to support the work if you choose. However this story unfolds, one thing is certain. The gap between the public narrative and the documented record is shrinking. And when that gap closes, the truth tends to speak for itself. Thanks for being here.